Hello everybody, my name is Aceface and welcome back to EVE Online. Today I'm going to actually take you guys with me on a stroll in EVE Online, and this is something I actually do from time to time. It's basically I travel through space and I just look at interesting things I find along the way, maybe find some interesting players or look at interesting things. It's not really a particular goal in mind. I just go out in high sec and explore, kind of not really explore as per se, you know, like exploring by scanning down things, but it's kind of like actually exploring, just looking what is out there, what any interesting things going on, like for example observatories, any kind of crazy ruins. And the ship I wanted to actually use is the Purifier because, as you guys maybe already know, it's one of the best looking ships in my opinion in the game, and I love this. Cold iron skin just looks absolutely amazing. It looks like an actual stealth bomber because of how it's just black like that B2 bomber. So we're going to actually go, since I just said we don't have any particular goal, but actually there is somewhat of a goal because I plan to go to Sibot, and I'll tell you why I want to go to Sibot when I get there, because this system actually holds a dear place in my heart. But since we're going to low sec, I'm going to have to switch my pod out, because if I somehow get caught in my pod, I do not want to risk losing my implants. So I really would want to not do that or lose them. So we'll obviously change to this pod here, and I'm actually in Citadel right now called Vera Estella Cartography. It's a citadel in perimeter, and I highly recommend you guys check this citadel out. It's really good because this citadel has it so that it's completely free to change clones, so you can change clones all day and have no issues or not have to pay a single ISK. Just absolutely free. So it's really convenient because this is right next to Jita, and I base out in Jita, so it's really convenient. All right, let's go and take the little trip to Sibot. You know, we can maybe find some interesting things on the way. We found there's like a major state mining expedition in this system over here. You know, those dead resource wars, really, they had so much potential, but really CCP jumped the gun on those. Actually, something I just wanted to tell you guys actually is that when you're traveling, and if you got expensive implants, like obviously I've not got expensive implants now, but if you've got expensive implants, and this is just a good thing to have in general, never travel in your pod, or at least AFK in your pod. Like really, there are a lot of players who actually will camp these big systems like Jita, perimeter, like really populated systems, and just kill pods like it's indiscriminately, suicide gank them like with and in cheap ships, because there's always a potential that a pod could have a very expensive implant, and people like seeing, like, you know, a really expensive kill on the kill mail. Like obviously they can't pick up the implants, there's no economical point to it, but it's just, you know, because it looks cool that, oh, look, I killed this pod, it's worth many hundreds of millions. So really never travel, or at the very least never AFK in an expensive pod outside a structure, because people will eventually kill you. And I actually noticed this, but not by actually getting killed. I've never been actually killed like that, but it's actually, I saw this guy who actually has a kill, who was in the chat, and I sometimes like to look at just people's bios, see what they write. Sometimes people write interesting bios, and this guy had actually linked his kill board, and I just looked at his kill board, and I just saw this guy right here. You see here, he's just sniping pods indiscriminately in these very popular systems like Amarr, Ashab, Jita, all these systems. And you know, they're empty, so it's just 10k, but then sometimes, you know, 40 mil here, 600 mil here, 40 mil here. So really be careful, guys. Do not think they're like, oh, I'm just in a pod, no one's gonna shoot me, they can't give my implants, there's no one will gank me. People do indiscriminately gank pods. So if you're gonna travel, at the very least use a shuttle or a Covert. Corvette's, you know, completely free, so at least you have some kind of, you know, backup, so that the people won't just like instantly kill your pod. You always have that like Covert to act as a shield for your pod, and especially since they're free, like always travel in them. You see here, these are actually the kind of like things, like we find more resource wars things here. Like honestly, no one does these, but they still just pop up all over the place. They removed them from the agency because just no one runs them. And actually something I want to find is actually these the Jove observatories. Those are really interesting. You can see here, natural phenomenon. Let's check out these guys. And the good thing is that I've got the Purifier, so I can use my Covert Ops cloak to warp cloaked. So it's really useful, because normal cloaking devices you can't warp when you're cloaking, but this one can actually. Covert Ops cloaking device too, and this can be used now to just scout this natural phenomenon. Let's see what is here. because you can get all these like kind of weird sites. You never really go to them. Often people don't pay attention to them. But I actually did manage to find a Dreadgaristus killer once when I actually went to one of these kind of sites here. It was a derelict ruins, and it dropped a 70 mil ISK modules. That was really cool. So it seems like a natural phenomenon is this mysterious rock formation over here. I mean, I don't know what exactly it is, but this is apparently some kind of natural phenomena, and I think bad guys can actually spawn here. There's a possibility that bad guys can spawn here, and I wish there were more interesting things. Like, this is kind of basic, but I wish there were more interesting like kind of like anomalies that could spawn here, not just in like the ones you scan down, but ones you can actually directly warp to. Alright, let's go to Niaja. Niaja is actually a system that is known for having a lot of ganks, and the reason is because it's a 0.5 system. 0.5 systems obviously is going to be a lot longer time for Concord to respond, because the lower your security status, the longer time it'll take for Concord to respond. So that's why it's optimal to gank in 0.5, because then it'll take a really long time for Concord to come and kill the gankers, so they'll have enough time to kill targets very quickly. A lot of freighters actually die here. It's quite often. If you look at the kill board in Niaja, you'll see lots of deaths happen here. And there's also a 0.6 is also, no, this is a 0.7, but in 0.6 systems it's also quite common that they have, but 0.5 is like the prime ganking kind of system. You'll see also here that I'm cloaked, and I noticed that actually it makes you so that you, when you warp to 0 at something, it actually doesn't exactly warp you to 0, it warps you at like 2 kilometers, because I think it's because cloaking is deactivated if something is in less than 2 kilometers, I think it is. So I think the warp drive automatically, just on purpose, doesn't warp you directly onto something, because then they'll deactivate your cloak. So it's kind of smart in that regard. Now, an important thing I really like to do is I like to clean my ship. Always keep your ship tidy. And I changed the skin a couple of times because it doesn't always update straight away. So just turn off the skin, turn it on, click a few times, and slow down. So usually now it will be the time where it's actually good. So it looks really nice, and I really like the domain or the Amarr skybox, because it just creates a nice little contrast for this ship over here. I just feel like the light brown or the kind of beige kind of background looks really good in like as a background to the skin up on this Purifier. It looks just amazing in my opinion. Alright, but the thing is, I really would like to find a Jove observatory, because those are quite cool. They're a cool thing to look at, but there's not really much you can do. I wish you could do more on them. The story is that these rogue alien race, or not alien, but like a kind of cyborgs, a semi-cyborg type of people. They're known as the sleepers. They died out, and they've got drones left. It's like a type of civilization. They've got drones left, and these drones have now been harvesting corpses from dead capsuleers. And what happens is that these dead capsuleers, they take them and make them into actual sleepers. So they're kind of rebuilding themselves. You know, they used to die, they used to exist, then they died out, so only the drones are left. So the drones are kind of rebuilding their old like creators' bodies with capsuleer bodies, and they're known as the drifters. So these Jove observatories kind of started popping up when these drifters started to arise. And actually, drifters are something maybe we'll even see, because you can sometimes see them actually in high sec if you find like a natural wormhole or some natural wormhole. Okay, we've got exactly what I was talking about, an identified wormhole. So we want to definitely be cloaked here, because you can find drifters, and drifters will one-shot you. Drifters have a super weapon where it's just this massive laser, and it's like they just have like it has a very long cooldown, but if they activate it, they will one-shot you. They can even one-shot the Paladin. The Paladin is an amazingly tanked battleship, one of the tankiest ship subcaps in the game, and this can get one shot. This 1.5 billion ship here can get one-shotted by these drifters battleships. And I don't know if we'll see one, but we maybe do see one, because these unidentified wormholes, as far as I understand, these lead to certain systems, and these are special systems called drifter wormhole systems. Wormhole system because you take this wormhole and go to that system, and you can get really good loot if you kill them, but it's extremely deadly. As I told you before, they can kill you quite easily. You can see here these kind of structures here are kind of forming these drifter wormholes, and you can see this theme. If you look at these modules, you see this theme right here? This black on top of like a bit of blue. This is a very typical sleeper type of theme. So sleepers look like this. Drifters look a tiny bit different. Drifters are like the reconstructed sleepers, you could say, the upgraded sleepers, or sort of. They look a bit more like grey and slightly green tint to them. So it looks a bit different. But this is a very typical design for the sleepers. So this is probably made by the drones, or at least it was what I'm guessing. This we'll see here, this is a Jove observatory. The Jove are actually what the sleepers are. This is a separated race from the ones, you know, you've got Amarr, Caldari, Minmatar. There's also a fifth one called the Jove. And the Jove are extremely technologically advanced because there was a point in New Eden's history where almost all technology was wiped out when the Eve Gate collapsed. You know that film you see in the beginning? And then almost all technology was wiped out. So like the Amarr and everyone else, they all had to start from ground zero. They had to invent rockets again. But the Jove had everything intact, so they're extremely advanced compared to us. And actually, if we go and look at the map here, if we look over here, these systems over here have no stargates between them. This is where the Jove lives because they've cut off themselves, or at least I don't know who cut them off, but they are at least cut off from the rest of New Eden, so you can't go here. But the Jove actually live here. And they're really technologically advanced, and they actually made these observatories. And this is kind of what drifters look like as well. This art style here of this Jove observatory, these decloaked at one point, and it was also the time when people started seeing these sleepers harvesting bodies and making drifters. So it could be some connection there, because the sleepers, they wanted to find a cure for this Jovian disease. It's a disease that Jovians specifically get because they've been doing too many mutations to their bodies, and it basically makes them go insane and die eventually. And the sleepers, they went to through wormholes to distant systems to try to find a cure, I think, for them, but they eventually failed and died out, and that's why the drones are only left, and the drones constructed then the drifters, as far as I understand. And these Jove observatories are thought to perhaps be some kind of way Jove are kind of secretly watching the citizens of New Eden, like Amarr, for example, or Caldari people. Just I don't know why. No one really knows why. Maybe there is some lore explanation, but I at least do not know why. It's unfortunate because they didn't really expand so much upon this lore in the game. It was mainly talked about in this, I think it's Chronicle, and I haven't bothered reading it. It's like a little story, a written story. Kind of like a book, but not really. A short story that the CCP publishes, but it's not really played out in game, so that's a bit unfortunate. I wish there was like kind of like a mission or something involving drifters and sleepers. That would be really cool. In fact, I wish there was like a whole lots of mission agents that revolved around this, but they never actually went forth and did that, which is a bit unfortunate. You can see here, it's actually recently been the Amarr, I think it's the Amarr like Empire Day. I don't know what, but this is unfortunate. These events are basically all copy pasted. This is like exactly the same as the Tribal Liberation Day, the Galente Freedom Day. They're all exactly the same. They just copy pasted the fleet, and then that's the event. And I really wish they would expand upon that. It would be nice if there were like some kind of sort of missions you could do. Maybe you do like, there are these kind of pirates who want to interfere with the parade. You save them, then you kill them. Then it's like, oh yeah, finally we can do the parade now. You see, it's just a copy paste, just blatant copy paste of the other events. And I think there's quite a bit of potential for CCP to do interesting things here. This is actually an interesting kind of skin here. Look at this green. What is this? I've not seen this before. This green kind of skin. Interesting. I've not seen this kind of green tint. See, all these ships have this kind of green tint. See here, there's green lights. I wonder what that means. But it's at least I think it's the Amarr type of. Oh, what is this? You see a star over here. I think that's the glitch actually. But it's like the fully golden Amarr ships, like the actual like Empire edition of them. There's actually a ship called that. I think it's called like Apocalypse Imperial issue or something like that. Yeah, here, Apocalypse Imperial issue. This is a really expensive AT ship. I don't even know if any of these exist anymore. It was a ship that you got from participating in this Alliance tournament a really long time ago. It's like a big tournament where you go in this PvP tournament, and this was given to people who came a certain like position in the tournament. You can see here it looks quite similar to those ships we just saw here, and this is a really tanky ship, a really OP ship, but it's worth like hundreds and hundreds of billions, this kind of ship. You can see, let's see if we look at the tank on this ship. Like, look at that, 73k EHP, no modules whatsoever. Got crazy amounts of tank from this ship, and look, all those had all those low slots as well. It seems like we're almost coming. Wait, what is this graveyard over here? I'm curious what this thing is. Let's check this out. Seems like maybe a ship graveyard or something. Let's see. We're soon approaching Sibot, so only a few jumps away. And there's a reason actually I used to go to Sibot, because it was near Amarr space, and Amarr. And my character is actually an Amarrian, so I used to spend a lot more time back here in Amarr before. Now I don't that often, but this system here I'm in right now is actually Sauron Prime. I used to actually have a base out here in the first corporation I was with a few friends. We used to actually base out of one of these, I think it was this station here. We used to base out in here in Sauron Prime. Those good times right there. So what is this? Seems like we've got some graveyard, a little Nagelfar, a Dreadnought wreck. Ooh. I don't know if there's anything you can do here, but this looks very cool actually. I don't know if you can actually, I don't think you can do anything here. So like, unfortunately, you can't really do anything in these things. It's more like a sightseeing thing, but this is like a really nice view we got here. You see the Naglfar wreck right over the Sauron Prime planet. Let's go to Hama. Hama sounds a lot like Tama. Tama is a system that is near Caldari space, or near Jita, and there is basically permanently camped because Tama is one of the closest systems, low-sec systems to high-sec, so it's almost always camped there because there's so many people, especially new players, who go through it, and they're just instantly popped when they go through there. It offers free kills, and I don't really understand why people are bothered. Like, what's the point of killing these new players? It's not really getting any good loot from them, and it's just to farm their salt tiers. But it sounds very similar to this Hama system over here, and you'll notice that throughout EVE Online. There are many systems that actually are quite similar. Oh, you see here, this system Al-Kabsi right here. Al-Kabsi. This system, actually, I used to run T5 Abyss, actually, and I actually got wrecked. I got absolutely wrecked once. I got, like, my T5 ship got ganked, and I was absolutely wrecked. I really did not expect to get wrecked, but because Al-Kabsi was a system which had never had an Abyssal gank ever in the history of its Z-kill. You can look in the Z-kill board. But I was the first person to ever get Abyssal gank there, so you can actually look that up on Z-kill. You'll see my losses there, and it was quite unfortunate actually that happened, but I recovered, and I've since then not really been running T5s. T5s, it's really good misc, but there's a lot of risk as well, and it still is a really good activity, but neither am I really in need of some big ISK right now anyway. So even if I did need ISK, I mean, or even if I would run T5s, there wouldn't be not really much point. So that's why I prefer running the T4s near Jita or in Jita, so that it's not really a gankable, or it's not really like worth a ganker's times, but it's still a good way to earn some decent income. You can earn about like 150 ISK per hour doing them, and that, in my opinion, is really good for high-sec activity, because usually high-sec activities are known for being really bad in terms of the ISK per hour. You know, you usually know that low-sec and null-sec is where the ISK is made because of how it's dangerous space, but you can actually do a decent amount of things in high-sec, and I think that's good because not everyone wants to have the thrill of potentially getting ganked in low-sec and null-sec. But then again, there is a kind of like risk to a reward thing. You have to have that into account. Obviously, things in null-sec and low-sec should be worth a bit more than the high-sec stuff because it's a lot safer to run here. But that's actually a thing you don't see in missions. Missions are worth actually a bit more in low-sec and null-sec, but people still don't do them because the thing is, you are likely to sometime get ganked. Now, I'm not talking about L5 missions. L5 missions is completely different. I'm talking about the normal L4 missions. Like, L4 missions do pay more in low-sec and low-sec, but the thing is, not so many people do them because it's just that you can get ganked and, like, all the profits are gone and your ship is gone. That'll just, in the end, like, the risk of losing your ship and losing that is just not worth it compared to the increased income. So they would have to really buff the income from the L4 missions to make them viable in low-sec. I actually think they should buff them in low-sec, maybe not null-sec, because the thing in null-sec is a bit of a different dynamic than how it is in low-sec. In low-sec, it's more like it's less controlled. In nullsec, it's more controlled. You got these groups who are controlling these areas of nullsec. But in lowsec, it seems like it's not as like people have not got such a tight grip on systems there. So it seems like maybe in actuality it'd probably be more dangerous to run in lowsec because you got all these big groups in nullsec keeping check on people who are in the system, while in lowsec you're not really got anyone. So anyone can just go in there and just kill you, and not really anyone else to defend you or anything like that. So at least that's my opinion on that. I really don't know much about machine running there and the dynamics so much about lowsec and nullsec because I mainly spend my time in highsec, so there could be something else going on there that I do not know. But I do know that there sometimes are these kind of gangs who kind of claim, quote unquote, claim lowsec systems for themselves. Like, it's not actually, they can't actually own it, but they kind of like think this is my territory. Like, once what happened, I had an alt and or a Galenta character back in the day when you could only use alpha clones, you could only use one race. So I had a Galenta alpha clone, and I actually went to my catalyst and went and ganked, or not, didn't gank, but attacked a few miners and also an Algos who was ratting in lowsec. So I had my catalyst and just wrecked him really hard, and that was really cool actually. Because that was like one of my first kills I ever got. But then there was this, I think it was either Cerberus or a Caracal Navy issue that came and killed me. And they killed me because like, obviously they're going to just wreck my catalyst. My catalyst can't hardly do anything to those cruisers, or at least with the skills I had, because I had pretty crappy skills since I was an alpha clone. And then the guy was saying, "Get out of my territory, you're not allowed to be in my territory," or whatever. So that was a little bit of an interesting experience right there. But we're approaching Sibot, actually. Only 2 jumps out, and we're going to go to Bit and Shell. There's 2 ways to go into Sibot. One is through Losec, so there could be, we could actually go, I think it's through Arton, or, yeah, Arton, I think it is. And then you go to Sibot, which is a bit of a shorter way, because I think the system is a bit smaller here in Waru, or Bit and Shell, I mean. But we're going to go this slightly safer way, because so we don't have to go through any Losec systems apart from Sibot. Because the thing is, Sibot, and I'll tell you now why I want to go to Sibot. Sibot is a place which has a big place in my heart, because that's where I spent a lot of my time at the beginning of my EVE career. So the thing is, there's something called clone soldiers ships, and clone soldiers ships are basically slightly more powerful pirate ships. It's not the same thing as faction ships. So you know, like these dread Guristas or true Sancha. It's not those, but there's certain types, for example, Sanchas or Guristas, clone transporters, and they. Or clone soldier ships, and they exist in specifically in Losec. And the thing is, each type of Losec, so 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, has a specific type of clone soldier that spawns in, and the specific type that spawns in specifically 0.2 systems is worth really much. Also 0.1, but there are not that many 0.1 systems. It's a lot easier to go to Sibot for me. So 0.2, you can kill this ship, and it spawns quite regularly actually in asteroid belts, and you can get 20 mil from the thing it drops. It drops this kind of tag which is used to repair security status. So if you gank a lot of people, your security status will go down, and then if you use this tag, you can actually increase your security status. So that is actually why they're worth quite a bit, because people need them. So I would sell them in my early days and earn quite a bit of ISK, and that was actually how I really earned my big bucks in the beginning. I remember I'd use my trusty Omen and actually farm these belts. It was really nice. It was just, those were the days where I really, 20 mil was just like the whole world for me. I remember I'd find about, like every hour, I'd find about maybe 2 or 3 of these clone soldiers, and it would be really nice. Or maybe even 4 actually. And it was really nice because you could also sometimes find, you know, these true Sancha people as well, which could also further drop these, like, really, these expensive faction modules. But the main thing I was hunting were the clone soldiers, because the clone soldiers would spawn a lot more frequently than the faction ships, and it was a lot more reliable in terms of income. It's still quite random, but it's still a lot more popular, or a lot more common than the actual the faction ships. We can see here someone's actually been killing them here. So someone's probably, this guy here seems like I think he's a pretty new guy. Yeah, he was made in 2020. He's probably hunting for these actually clone soldiers. Let's see here. We got a few people. Is this him? Is this him? No, it's not this him. Maybe he died. I don't know. But this is what I would do. I'd warp to belts like this and kill all the ships here. And then when a new spawn comes in, there's always a chance that clone soldier will spawn in. So I keep on doing that, and the clone soldier spawn. That was just really fun. I loved that. That was just so good. The ISK was pretty good. Like, I think it was 70 million now, and that was amazing to me as an alpha clone at the time. And that's something I maybe would like to make a video on, to show you guys for who are alpha clones. That's a potential for actually. But that's it for this video, guys. That's my little stroll through New Eden, and a little bit of like that. So that's it for this video, guys. That's for a stroll in New Eden, where I just go to different systems, and then I just go and look at different things. And in this case, we looked at Sibot, one of the systems that hold a dear place in my heart, because I earned a lot of my early ISK right there. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I'll be making my way back to Jita, and if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.